Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new venture that I'm starting. It is called Text React. The aim here is very similar to a kind of YouTube video that you would have already seen, and most of you might already be enjoying. It is reaction videos. Okay, so the framework there is you look at a video and you react to it, and the reaction is supposed to be authentic. So it is usually a video that the reactor hasn't seen before. So in a way, you, the audience, will be watching the video along with the reactor. So this is the basic structure of a reaction video. A text react is very similar, but rather than working with a video, we'll be working with a text. So we will take a text and we will read the text together. And hopefully, this way you will be able to sort of read certain texts which are in your to read list, but you have not gotten to them yet. So the idea is to read the text and to not sort of plan the reading in advance, like a lecture or a presentation, but also maybe not to like know nothing about the text either, but to have some sort of working knowledge of the text, but to read the text together with you, to enter the text fresh, so that there is an authentic reaction to the text. There are certain authentic ideas that come up while reading the text. So the text that I have, so I'll just say a few things about myself. My name is Bharatwaj. I'm a PhD student at the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. My PhD is in philosophy. I'm working on a German philosopher called Martin Heidegger. But the text that we will be reading today is by C.S. Lewis, and it is called The Four Loves. I thought of starting this series with the wonderful topic of love. So here we go. This is the sort of the first page of the text. And there's a very interesting quotation from the poet John Donne about affections, where he's saying that our affections do not kill us, nor do they die. So affections are in this in-between place where neither do they kill us, nor do they die themselves. I think that's what that quotation is about. So right away we have a quotation about the ambiguous nature of affection. So this is the table of contents page. There are, in a way, two introductions to the text. The main introduction. In the main introduction, C.S. Lewis engages with the distinction between, I think, need love and let me just take a look. Yeah, need love and gift love. And when we read this introduction, we will constantly be asking ourselves why he needs to have such an introduction. What is the role that the introduction is playing in this text? And there is another introduction here, which is likings and loves for the subhuman. So we will get to that. And then come the 4 chapters on the 4 types of love, which form the central aspect of the book. That is what the book is about. So that is affection, friendship, eros, and charity. But we would not jump the gun too quickly. We will go to this one by one. So we first will enter into the introduction. First, I would just want to say that this is the I'm using the 1960 edition of this. So if you want the exact page numbers, you can go to that. There is also another, I have it somewhere over here. There is a more recent edition of C.S. Lewis's all of his complete classics. I don't remember, it's called Signature Classics, I think. So that could be a good book to go to. Okay, so we begin with the introduction, page number 11. The introduction begins with a quotation from the Gospel of St. John, and it goes, "God is love," says St. John. When I first tried to write this book, I thought that the maxim would provide me with a very plain high road through the whole subject. So what Lewis is saying is that when he began to entertain the idea of writing this book, he thought that this maxim, this quotation had him covered, that this is all he needed. And on the basis of this, he could easily write the book. So if God is love, then we have a definition of love, and we have, in a sense, the highest definition of love. And therefore, all the different aspects of love, all the different categories of love could then be understood in relation to this highest definition of love. So he thought that he already had a good yardstick through which, or with the help of which, he could think about all the other kinds of love. I thought I should be able to say that human loves deserve to be called loves, at all, just insofar as they resembled that love which is God. Okay, so as we were saying, once he has a definition of love, which he takes as a Christian, he takes this from St. John's Gospel. Once he understands this definition of love, once he has this definition of love, then human love or human activities, different human activities, deserve to be called love to the level in which they participate with this highest definition of love. So in other words, he began with a certain Platonic premise. So for Plato, in order to understand individual acts of, say, justice, or individual acts of, say, friendship, you first need to establish the very form of justice or the very form of friendship. Or in other words, you need to establish what justice itself is, what is its universal character. On the basis of that, you can decide which human act can be called friendship or friendly, or justice or just, to the extent to which they participate in this universal form of justice itself or friendship itself. So that's the road that Lewis thought he will be taking when he began writing this text. Okay. However, as it now sort of appears, this did not quite work out, maybe. Let's see. So the first distinction I made was between what I called gift love and need love. Okay. So gift love appears to be a more selfless love, and need love appears to be more of a love or a relationship based on what the other person can do for us. So there is a need-based engagement here. The typical example of gift love would be that love which moves a man to work and plan and save for the future well-being of his family, which he will die without sharing or seeing. So a good example of gift love is to do something through your love for your loved ones, but the fruits of which would be enjoyed by them, but not by you. So it's a sheer giving without the expectation of anything in return. Quite simple. The second type of love, need love, is best typified by a child's running into the arms of the mother. The mother is an object of love, of course, but there is also an element of need. The mother is the protector, right? Okay. There was no doubt which was more like love himself. I really liked this phrase here. Love himself. So I liked how he is using the the personal the personal pronoun himself. So he has already defined love as God. And now he's saying that if we divide love into two, gift love and need love, and if God is the very definition of love, among these two, it looks like gift love is more aligned with the nature of God and therefore with the nature of love itself. Divine love, in other words, is gift love, because in the Christian perspective, the Father gives all he is and has to the Son. The Son gives himself back to the Father and gives himself to the world and for the world to the Father, and thus gives the world in himself back to the Father too. Okay, so that was a mouthful. So the Father gives all he is and has to the Son. Okay, so in a way, the Father incarnates into the Son, right? So the Father gives himself, exhausts himself in the Son. The Son gives himself back to the Father, obviously by taking up the sin of the world and being crucified. The Son is giving himself completely, exhausting himself by bearing the cross. He is giving himself back to the Father, right? And he's also giving himself to the world, right? It is the sin of the world which he is here to sort of negate in the Christian understanding. So he's also giving himself to the world without any expectation in return from the world, because the world cannot do anything in return for him to this sort of extent. So gives himself to the world and for the world, right? And who is he giving this to? He is giving this, giving himself to the Father. And thus he gives the world back to the Father in the sense that he negates the sin of the world. And therefore the world becomes, in a way, not purified, but at least the guilt of the world is taken by the Son, and thus the world becomes pure enough to be given back to the Father. That seems like a... So, in other words, divine love is more like gift love, where there is nothing asked in return, and yet the act is performed. Okay, so next, I think he'll go into the contrast this with need love. And what, on the other hand, can be less like anything we believe of God's life than need love. So he's saying that need love is not like God's nature. He lacks nothing, so he does not need anything. But our need love is the son of poverty. So right now, he is distinguishing between our nature and God's nature. God's nature is lacks in this poverty, lacks in this need, so he does not engage in need love. But we, on the other hand, are very needy creatures. We are poor creatures. We are also ontologically poor. We depend on other beings for our very existence. So our very functioning happens through sort of need, though I think we can have moments, like he gave the example, we can have moments of gift love, but it's always in conjunction with need love. But love itself, or God itself, or God himself, is not like that. Love himself is pure gift love. It is the accurate reflection in consciousness of our actual nature. Okay. We are born helpless. Okay. As soon as we are fully conscious, we discover loneliness. So the need of others. We need others physically, emotionally, intellectually. We need them if we are to know anything, even ourselves. So even to know ourselves, we need an other. It is through the reflection of the other that we can even know ourselves. So for example, if we have a name, even our name means anything only if there is another who can call us with that name, right? So I was looking forward to writing some fairly easy panegyrics on the first sort of love and disparagements of the second. So his plan was to talk about gift love, with all the wonders that it represents, and he was going to negate or criticize need love. Simple book. And much of what I was going to say still seems to me to be true. There is some element of truth in this disparagement of need love. I still think that if all we mean by our love is a craving to be loved, so here need love also means not only that I love you because you can do something for me, it also means that I love you so that you can love me, right? We are in a, if all of love is just this, then we are in a deplorable state. But I would not now say that if we mean only this craving, we are mistaking for love something that is not love at all. Okay, so now what he's saying is that even this craving, even this mere need love has a certain element of love. It would be wrong to say, because see, once we have defined love himself as sheer gift love, the obvious logical consequence of that is to say that need love is not at all love, right? This is what C.S. Lewis would have himself believed in the very beginning. But he has now come to the realization, he says, that that need love also has the element of love, right? Okay. So he's saying that I cannot now deny the name of love to need love. Need love is still love. It would be bad if that is all that there is to love, but need love is not love. Every time I have tried to think the thing out, I have ended in puzzles and contradictions. Okay. And the reality is much more complicated. So let's move on. First of all, we do violence to most languages if we do not call need love love. So what we have so far done in the introduction, just to go back, is to establish what love is, the universal. No. What we have looked at in the introduction is the sort of book that C.S. Lewis would have written. His initial plan was to take this statement from St. John's Gospel, which gives him the definition of love. And then he could have categorized human loves based on this definition, right? Which made him then ask the question, what is the nature of love? What is the nature of love himself? The nature of love himself, he notices, is sheer donation, sheer gift. So already now he's getting two categories of love. One is the sheer donation, which represents or characterizes gift love, the love of God. And the other category is need love, which is not sheer donation, but it is a love which wants to be loved or wants something. Okay. But as he thought about this question a little more, he came to the realization that you cannot completely disparage need love. The first thing you cannot do is to deny the name of love to need love. That's what he's saying. So the first reason why that is because language itself requires of us the use of the word love for whatever is this need love. So he's saying we do violence to most languages if we do not call need love love. Of course, language is not an infallible guide, but it contains, with all its defects, a good deal of stored insight and experience. If you begin by flouting it, it has a way of avenging itself later on. Okay. So we cannot use language without heeding its instruction, as it were. So language requires of us to call need love love. Bearing in mind that language is not the ultimate guide, but it is not nothing. Second reason, is that secondly, we must be cautious about calling need love mere selfishness. And this is a very interesting line here. Mere is always a dangerous word. Very interesting coming from the author of Mere Christianity. But to call something mere and therefore to reduce its status is a dangerous act, he's suggesting. No doubt, need love, like all our impulses, can be selfishly indulged. A tyrannous and gluttonous demand for affection can be a horrible thing. But, okay, so all that is bad. But in ordinary life, no one calls a child selfish because it turns for comfort to its mother, nor an adult who turns to his fellows for company. In a way, this is a very natural tendency for us. I'm reminded actually of a very interesting book by Adam Phillips called, I think it's called Seeking Attention. No, it's called Attention Seeking, where this British psychoanalyst considers it a healthy nature of ours to seek attention and to seek validation, because that is what makes us human, right? A person who does not seek anyone's attention or anyone's validation becomes socially maladjusted, right? He becomes less than human. Okay, so those, whether children or adults, who do so least are not usually the most selfless. Oh, so what he's saying here is those who do not need love are not automatically selfless. Very interesting. Where need love is felt, there may be reasons for denying or totally mortifying it, but not to feel it is in general the mark of an egoist. Yeah, he who does not need anyone, or he who does not need either anyone's love or anyone's validation or anyone's help, is in a bad place. So already C.S. Lewis's distinction between the sheer goodness of gift love and the sheer badness of need love is kind of breaking apart. And it's very interesting to see that break apart right in front of our eyes. He is in a way self-critiquing here. Since we do in reality need one another, then the failure of this need to appear as need love in consciousness is a bad spiritual symptom, just as lack of appetite is a bad medical symptom. Very interesting. Because human existence happens with others, or as the German philosopher Martin Heidegger would call the very nature of the human being as a mit-sein, as a being with others. Similarly, C.S. Lewis is saying that given that our fundamental nature is this sort of neediness, is this sort of need for the other, need for company, a situation or a nature or a personality in which this need love does not show itself at all is a bad spiritual state or a bad spiritual situation. So there are two reasons why calling need love not love is wrong. One reason, language. It is called these acts of a child towards its mother, or a man or a woman towards company, friendly company. Because language calls these forms of love, we should still heed to the call of language. Second, neither is need love sheer selfishness, nor are those people who do not have need love, nor are they totally selfless. In fact, to never have need love or to never feel that need or that craving is a bad spiritual symptom. Now comes the third reason, which he considers to be far more important. Every Christian, so this is coming to us from a very spiritual perspective, from a very religious perspective. Every Christian would agree that a man's spiritual health is exactly proportional to his love for God. This is also something that believers in other religion could also sort of relate to. But this, I think, is a very Abrahamic position to hold, right? So, or in the Indian religions, this is a very Dvaita position to hold, right? So the human being, the spiritual health of the human being is directly proportional to their feeling of love for God. Now let's move on. But man's love for God, from the very nature of the case, must always be very largely and must often be entirely a need love. Okay. This is very interesting. Given that the human being is finite, the human being's love of God cannot be entirely gift love. I wonder how we could like engage with C.S. Lewis from, let's say, the perspective of a Sufi mystic like Rabia, for example, who said that my love of God is not contingent upon my punishment in hell or my felicity in paradise. I wonder how we can read this along with Rabia. It would be very interesting to play with that, because she does seem to suggest that the most pure engagement with God would be an engagement which comes from a sort of gift love position. Anyway, there's also a quotation from the grandson, the nephew of the Prophet Muhammad, Ali ibn Abi Talib, who is also one of the early companions of the Prophet. I don't remember the exact quotation, but he also suggests that that a relationship with God, which is purely based on a neediness of a certain kind, always for some reward in this world, is a kind of transactional engagement. But the relationship with God, which is sheerly based on the foundation that this is God, the relationship with God is because it is God. That is the sort of the worship of the free person. That's, I mean, I don't remember the quotation fully and I don't have it before me, but that's what came to my mind. So it'll be very interesting to play with these notions. Many of the Christian mystics would also claim a certain gift-love relationship with God. So how C.S. Lewis engages with mysticism, the mystical tradition, all these are very interesting questions that we cannot go into right now. Okay. So this is obvious when we implore forgiveness for our sins or support in our tribulations. All these are cases of love of God, which is founded on a certain kind of need relationship. But in the long run, it is perhaps even more apparent in our growing awareness that our whole being, by its very nature, is one vast need. I loved this line, one vast need. Okay. So in a way, we are ontologically indigent. In a way, we are by our very nature in need. We are by our very nature a cry for help in the spiritual sense, right? So we are incomplete, preparatory, empty, crying out for him who can untie things that are now knotted together and tie up things that are still dangling loose. So what he's saying is, to call need love a bad thing puts us in a lot of trouble, because that's our relationship of love with God. We are needy beings. Okay. I do not say that man can never bring to God anything at all but sheer need. Okay. So here, I think our question has been sort of answered. Yeah, he does allow for a gift-love relationship with God. So the mystical relationship with God does get that pass with C.S. Lewis. Okay, so the exalted souls may tell us of a reach beyond that. So the saints and the mystics do engage in a kind of gift love with God. Okay. But they would also, I think, be the first to tell us that those heights would cease to be true graces, would become Neoplatonic illusions the moment a man dared to think that he can live on them and henceforth drop out the element of need. This is an excellent, excellent point. So, in a way, this is Lewis's answer to us in that, okay, somebody like Julian of Norwich, or somebody like Rabia or Rumi, yes, they do represent to us a kind of engagement with God, a kind of relationship with God, which goes beyond the need. There is a certain kind of gift love element to it. But they would also say, that it is only because we stand in the purest of need or in sheer need. It is only because we stand in the position of ontological contingency and indigence that we can even reach that kind of gift love. It's a very interesting sort of paradoxical play that is happening here. Wonderful, wonderful. So he does answer this. Because he mentions the um, Neoplatonic tradition, I think what he's saying is that with the Neoplatonists, there is a sense in which the human soul completely merges with God. And so the reality of the human self is already sort of divine. So for them, there is a possibility of a sort of gift love which can completely remove need. That's my reading of this. And I also think that this also connects with our assumption that he begins with a very Platonic methodology in the study of love. And yeah, so he's going to move away from the Platonic to what he will consider the sort of properly Christian. Let's see how this goes. So the highest, says the Imitation. This is the Imitation of Christ by Thomas A. Kempis. The highest does not stand without the lowest. So it's very interesting. The highest amount of gift love is founded on the deepest form of need love. Okay. Not only are we now considering need love to be not merely selfish, we are actually going a step further here and considering need love to be one of the deepest forms of engagement. Very interesting. It would be a bold and silly creature that came before its creator with the boast, I am no beggar, I love you disinterestedly. Right? Those who come nearest to a gift love for God will next moment, even at the very same moment, be beating their breasts with the publican and laying their indigence before the only giver. Right? In a way, we could argue that the highest amount of gift love is sustained precisely by this immediate intertwining of gift love with need love. Beautiful. And God will have it so. God will have it so. That's what God also wants of us. Again, very interesting, especially in the Dvaita perspectives, the Vaishnavite perspectives, in the Indian religions, and also the Abrahamic religions. This is how it would be. But he's also suggesting that this would be the case even with the great mystics. So yeah, those questions could still be played with, but let's move on. He addresses our need love in the Old Testament in these words, come unto me, all ye that travail and are heavy laden. Or in the Old Testament, oh, sorry, this is the New Testament. The Old Testament says, open your mouth wide and I will fill it. So, yeah, so this is interesting. Okay, So let's move further. We've already kind of discussed this quite a bit. Let's move to the next paragraph. Okay. Thus, one need love, the greatest of all, either coincides with or at least makes a main ingredient in man's highest, healthiest, and most realistic spiritual condition. So this one need love, there are need loves which are bad. He's not denying that. There are need loves which are bad, and there are need loves which are completely healthy, right? There are uh, reasons to want the company of others. There are also very healthy reasons to want a reciprocal relationship with someone. So those kinds of need loves are good, but there are also need loves that are bad. But there is a kind of need love, which is the the human being's relationship with God as the all giver, which according to him is at least an important ingredient or is equal to the highest and the healthiest and the most realistic spiritual condition. So so the initial simple dichotomy of gift and need love has become completely, not only completely toppled, but completely sort of controverted, right? Need love is not only something to be disparaged, it could also be the highest form of love in this, at least in this relationship. Now, what is next? A very strange corollary then follows. Man approaches God most nearly when he is, in one sense, least like God. This is, I think, the central point he's making so far. Let's read it again. Let's maybe make a note of this. This could be one of the great sort of C.S. Lewis quotations. He's saying, man approaches God most nearly when he is, in one sense, least like God. So man is most near God when he is furthest away from God in a certain sense. For what can be more unlike than fullness and need? So fullness is of God, need is of the human being. What can be more separate than these two? What can be more separate than sovereignty and humility, righteousness and penitence, limitless glory, and a cry for help? So there is a certain abyss between the self and its creator. There's also a certain kind of Kierkegaardian motif happening here, which is also something that we can play with. So yeah, in this sense, need love rather than gift love is what takes us closest to God, because it keeps us furthest away from God, or at least keeps our consciousness aware about this distance and abyssal distance between us and the divine. This paradox, what is the paradox? Man approaches God most nearly when he is, in one sense, least like God. This paradox staggered me when I first ran into it. It also wrecked all my previous attempts to write about love. So that neat categorization that he had made was completely wrecked by this paradox. When we face it, something like this seems to result. Okay. All right. So I think we have looked at, I think, 4 or 5 pages from the introduction. So we should, I think, close this part of the video right now, so that the video doesn't get, I mean, the way I'm hoping to do this series is to create a playlist of like about 30-minute or 40-minute videos, so that it's not like, so that you can take the book in bits and think about it. So this is the bit that we have taken right now. We can, in the next video, we can go further and maybe read a few more pages. If it takes a long time to finish the book, that is perfectly fine, I think. And if we think that we are like making we are cutting up the argument too much, we can make a longer video, that's fine too. All that is okay. But I think that this is a good place to stop. I mean, it's just my natural, this is where I would stop reading the book and go out, maybe take a walk and think about what I've just read, because this is a very interesting place to stop and to be ourselves, to be a little bit staggered. That's a very important thing while reading a book. So let's just sum this up a little bit. So the introduction is saying that one of the natural ways in which we can think about the sort of the four loves is to first define love, create a universal definition of love that applies everywhere and is also the sort of the highest paradigmatic instance of love. And on the basis of that, we can then categorize different kinds of love, and also establish their sort of degree of approximation with this highest definition of love. Once we do that, we have to take the next step of defining this God is love. What is the nature of this love which is God? And he seems to think that its nature is donation itself. That's actually the way in which Jean-Luc Marion thinks of God, not in terms of being, not in terms of ontology, but in terms of donation. So once we define love itself as gift love, another category and a sort of a supposedly contrasting category arises, which is need love, right? And then we don't need to go into all the things that he mentions, but he mentions one important thing. One easy way to have written this book could have been to praise gift love and to disparage need love. But he soon recognizes a very important thing. It is not only wrong or inaccurate to call need love not love. Furthermore, it is not only inaccurate to do that, but in fact, one kind of need love, the love of God, is the highest kind of love that can be imaginable. It is the highest spiritual and the healthiest spiritual state that can be imaginable, right? Because so far as at least this need love is concerned, man approaches God most nearly when he is, in one sense, least like God. And it is only in our needy nature, only in our nature as a one vast need, as he beautifully puts it, only in that situation are we least like God, because God is completion, God is perfection, right? He is the perfect being and he does not have need love, right? But our relationship with God is the deepest when we are least like that fullness, when we accept our indigence and finitude, which also accepts the abyssal distance between us and him. So, in a way, need love, which creates this understanding of our being least like him, that is the portal to be most near unto God, right? Now, as soon as this paradoxical realization comes up, as soon as this paradoxical realization occurs for Lewis, all his initial plans of writing this book collapses, right? So in the next video, we'll go further, and we'll begin with page number 15. For this video segment, this would be it. Thank you very, very, very much.